Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 2016 CX virtual event, Spotlight on Personalized Experiences. My name is Jess Bazo from the Argyle team, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. I'm going to go through a few quick administrative announcements to share with you, and then I'm going to turn things over to our esteemed speakers. So first of all, we would really like to thank Oracle for their partnership with today's event. They've been a really wonderful thought leadership partner with Argyle over the years, and they're very committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. So thank you again to Oracle. We appreciate you being here today. And we welcome you to stay connected during today's event. For those of you who are active tweeters, please just use the hashtag ArgyleCX. You can also follow us at Argyle Exec Forum, and we do have a LinkedIn group as well that we would love to have you join. You can search CX Forum on LinkedIn and join us there. I also just want to touch on our content neutrality policy quickly. This is a policy we've put together over the years based on the feedback of our members, really as a commitment to provide you with excellent content. So we are really proud and protective of this policy as it reflects our commitment to ensure your experience. And we've worked closely with all of our speakers today to ensure this policy as well. So thanks for your support. And following today's event, we will send you a brief feedback survey regarding your experience today. We'd really appreciate your feedback. It helps us ensure that we're always improving your experience. If you do have any immediate feedback, please don't hesitate to reach us at feedback@argyleforum.com. All of that feedback goes directly to our president and CEO. And also wanted to mention a few upcoming events we have. We will be in New York next week for our annual CX Forum on November 2nd. We'll also be in San Francisco at the end of the year on December 15th. And then we're close to announcing some dates for 2017 as well. So if you'd like to join us for any of these, please just let us know, and we'd love to see you. And then finally, and really most importantly, if you have any questions for our speakers throughout the day, we'd love to hear your questions. So please just use the Q&A interface in today's portal, submit your questions there. Following the panel, we will have some time blocked off to ask our speakers those questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our opening speaker today. JP Saunders is Senior Director of Solution Strategy at Oracle. We're very pleased to have him with us to deliver some opening remarks. So welcome, JP. Over to you.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining the webinar. My name is JP Saunders. I'm the Senior Director of Strategy Consulting for Oracle Service Cloud. And today we'll be talking about personalized experiences and what is the path of maturity to get there. And we'll be joined by two panelists who will give us their view on their shared experiences on their journey to being a modern service organization, delivering customer experience that can truly develop better relationships and better business outcomes through investment in personalized experiences for the customers. To kick us off, I just wanted to put a stake in the ground of, what is modern service? What does that look like? What does that mean in regards to where we're headed? What is that destination? So in today's world of service, many businesses are still running a traditional service model, which is very much based on tactical silos. They're very reactive. They're waiting for customers to call them or contact them through email or your traditional channels. Typically ran as anonymous, even if there is an SLA or there's a nugget of information that's available to the agents, like they're able to identify the customer's name based on the telephone number or the email address or some other nugget of information. But for the most part, they're pretty anonymous. They're very complex for customers to figure out how to connect with the organization for the service experience they're looking for the resolution they're seeking. And complex for agents. Many different desktops, many different applications for the agents to navigate, a lot of duplicated information, and them having to reconcile that information in real time, live with the customer. Creates a very complex world for the ran as cost centers, seen as an operational need to have for the organization, measured primarily on efficiency as the primary driver for the business, trying to reduce costs, reduce average handle time, increase first call or contact resolution, but just so they can handle the volumes of contacts from their customers, often seeking ways to deflect or defer customers to alternate channels which are cheaper. But the reduced cost is the primary driver for the business. That's the world of tactical, traditional service. In the modern service and its definition, it's a strategic partner for the business around customer experience. It truly has a seat on all CX innovations and is driving to the growth and profit and that sustainability for the business, not just seen as the afterthought for a CX innovation. It's proactive. It's actively seeking out opportunities to contact customers and resolve issues, be that proactively, preemptively, or just encouraging through campaigns customers to call or contact the customer service department. And when those customers do, they're truly personalized, which is where we'll be touching on today. The personalization is reflective of what's happened upstream from that service experience. It's really about delivering to the promise that's been given to that individual. In a world of modern marketing that we see frequently today, businesses are able to tailor brand promises to individual promises that they make to the customer. Yet often in contact centers today, they aren't aware of what the new or updated brand promise is, let alone what the promise has been made to that individual. So it's having that connectivity of upstream and downstream so that you can truly personalize that experience and deliver on that experience that's been tailored to the individual. It's simple, not just simple for customers to be able to figure out which channel they prefer to connect on, or multiple channels that they choose to combine for that service experience or that resolution. Forrester says there's about 75% of customers are using 3 or 4 different devices or channels to reach a point of resolution through any resolution flow. But it's simple for them to navigate that tree of different channels and devices for them to reach that resolution. And it's also simple for agents to connect with those customers. There is a unified agent desktop that they're able to see all of the activity across all the different channels. They don't have to navigate 15 different systems in order to get the information that they need to resolve the customer's issue. And they can connect those different channels of interaction really easily. And how they've achieved this is really through augmenting easy. It's not ripping out the guts of your operations organization in order to deliver that experience of easy. It's augmenting easy with things like cloud applications that allow configuration versus customization and business agility, so the business can keep innovating at the speed of the experience to the customer. And most importantly, they ran as profit centers, which again goes back to being a strategic partner. They've gone beyond just running primarily metrics that drive agent behaviors around cost and efficiency, evolve that through retention and understanding what the lifetime value is, what the conversion rates is, what the average order value is, and those become the primary metrics for that contact center, is to invest in relationships and then figure out how those investments in those relationships are driving growth and profit in a sustainable way for the business. So the world of customer service has gone through an evolution. In the 90s, we were much dependent upon the agents as part of that experience with the store and the phone. The introduction of the IVR system, which works or doesn't work depending on your investment in that. But it was very much a deflection strategy, trying to keep control of the volumes of customers that are calling with the ratio ratio of agents that you have available to take those calls or answer those emails. As we moved into the late 90s or early 2000s and introduced web and kiosk, we added more channels, which we then consider kind of deferring versus deflecting customers towards. As we move forward into the mid-2000s, the introduction of chat, mobile, and social added more channels to be able to serve customers, still with a focus for customer service on increasing efficiency and reducing the cost, but doing that very much in favor of customer satisfaction or net promoter score that started to arise in the mid-2000s. With chat and mobile and social on the uprise of technology that was supporting those interactions. In 2010, there became a very strong focus on retaining customers and more than just serving them, but actually satisfying them, improving those customer satisfaction and NPS scores. Technologies like text and video added to the experience. More adoption of social came about, and customers started to cross or traverse different channels and devices through these resolution flows. And 2015, there's much more focus on omni-channel. It's kind of that next evolution of truly personalizing those experiences to figure out maybe not all customers can be delighted, but which ones are the most valuable, either in historical view or current view or future view to your business and your business growth, and then making sure that you delight those customers with experiences that feel connected from the start of the experience to the end. So after I ask businesses kind of what year are you stuck in? What is your evolutionary flow? Many businesses today are focused on delivering that personalized experience through an omni-channel engagement, but aren't ready yet to deliver that without going through some phase of evolution to get there. Everything that happened before 2005, we consider that kind of legacy customer service versus everything that happened after 2005 leans us closer towards modern customer service. The evolutionary path I described is kind of a three-phase, where whether you want to call it crawl, walk, run, or get going, get better, and get ahead is the language that we like to use. The initial phase, the phase one, would be to invest in the digital so customers can connect. The phase two would be for investing really in that agent experience that optimizes your processes and delivers a consistent, reliable experience. We call this the value center, moving from a cost center to a value center where the softer metrics become primary for an organization. In the latter phase of the omni-channel, it's using that data, leveraging that data, and that technology foundation that you've invested in changing the culture of your agents from deflecting into engagement and trying to figure out where are those opportunities to grow your business. We call this getting ahead. So at Oracle, we've developed this into a maturity model, and there is a white paper that describes every particular phase business has to go through in order to reach this latter state of omni-channel being. And part of that is a language definition. What is multi-channel? What is cross-channel? What is omni-channel? There's a strategy. What do we mean when we say these terms? There's a lot of confusion. And just by having a common language definition and an evolutionary path that describes a step-by-step process will ensure you actually reach that goal and you're not playing a game of snakes and ladders where you go up a ladder and down a snake because you haven't invested in the right order of the technology, measurements, change in culture, and change in process to make sure that you're successful on that journey. We've broken those down into 9 separate steps, 3 in each phase, and associated the measurements, the benchmarks, the technologies, the practices that go along with that. You can learn more about the Roadmap to Modern at roadmaptomodern.com and other assets that we'll share with you, which will connect you into white papers and give you the full map of how to evolve your business and how to develop your journey. I'd like to transition to introducing our first speaker, Jennifer from Altisource. Jennifer, are you on the line?
I am, yes. Thank you, JP.
give us a little bit of information about your background, your company, and your current role?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I just wanted to thank Argyle and Oracle for having me here today, as well as all of you on the call. So I appreciate that and all of your time. Just to give you a little bit of a background from kind of my career perspective. So I started out in learning and development, and from there went into leadership development that I ran. So I started at State Farm Insurance. So I've kind of been in the insurance and financial services world for the past, 25 years. So that would just be how old I am. But anyway, so started there with learning and development, then went into leadership development at Citi in the cards division, both on the issuing and the acquiring side of that whole credit card equation. Then also while I was there, did a lot of operational work for learning and development, so really understood how the operations from call centers worked. Then I went to JP Morgan Chase, where I also did learning and development there and organizational development. Then I moved actually into a marketing operations role where I kind of ran the whole marketing department as a business unit, if you will, and was also responsible for all the retention for our customers through kind of, our small business, mid-market, and national clients. And then kind of around that time is when the whole customer experience, I guess the push, throughout all the various industries started. So I went to our CEO at the time and said, hey, I really want to start leading this for our company. And he said, okay, great, but you're not losing your day job kind of thing. But we started that, and after a year and a half, I completely transitioned into building that at Chase, again, in the acquiring side of the business for credit cards, and built that out over 3 years. And then I was contacted by Altisource, where I am currently, that they did not have any customer experience department, no strategies, no vision as far as other than that they knew they needed to have it. So they asked me to come be part of the executive team actually in Luxembourg in Europe. And I did that. So I've been there about 2.5, in February it'll be 3 years. And have built that from scratch. So that's been a lot of fun. And I think the reason I kind of spent the time on the various other functions that I've managed, I think has really helped me be more effective in my role with customer experience because it's just been varied. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. Our second speaker is Sarah Wright from Shaw Communications. Good morning, Sarah.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having us on the panel today, and again, thanks to Argyle and to Oracle. So I am the Senior Vice President of Customer Care here at Shaw Communications. I've been with Shaw just about 3.5 years, based out of Calgary, Alberta. And prior to joining Shaw, I held several different positions, mostly in the mobility and wireless space at Virgin Mobile, Bell Canada, and working with several consultants as well. Prior to being in wireless, I worked for Scotiabank on the financial services side. And I've been in a various amount of roles, similar to what Jennifer's journey sounds like too. Everything from client services, sales, account management, operations, and now my role here, where I head up all of the activities around customer care, customer service, as well as what we're doing from a emerging channel standpoint on the self-serve side. So happy to be here and excited to start chatting through some of the questions we have.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. So I'll be the moderator today in the questions. We're going to cover some questions for each of the speakers, and at the end of the questions, we'll turn it over to the audience to answer some of your questions. So I encourage you as we go through the questions to ask questions. Maybe some of them we'll answer as we go, and maybe some of them we'll have to answer at the end. But we'll ensure we leave plenty of time for your questions. So please, I encourage you to use the chat box and post your questions, and we'll make sure we get to them at the end. To kick us off, Jennifer, what innovative approaches have you taken to transform the culture of your organization to be more customer-centric? Often, as businesses transform from taking the outside-in view first, there's a lot of cultural shifts and challenges. So can you tell me some of the hurdles that you ran into and how you addressed them and how you've achieved that cultural shift?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, JP. So, as I mentioned, we started from scratch, so kind of put together the entire strategy and what the vision about, what we were trying to do from a customer experience standpoint. And it was very interesting to get the feedback throughout, our organization. We actually have 24 different business units, so it's fairly complex. I wouldn't say it's rocket science, but it is fairly complex. So I think the biggest thing that has proven successful to us is we kind of branded the whole effort of what we're doing with customer experience. We call it Be the Source. And again, we're trying to get people to really give us customer feedback. We didn't really have any type of complaint management policy or definitions or anything like that in place. So, we had to, of course, create all of that, get all of that approved, kind of get that socialized throughout, each of our business unit heads and that type of thing. So I think, one thing for me was we really, I still feel like this today after this much time, that I feel like I have to drive this internally as well as externally every day. Just working hard to keep the thought out there, keep everyone very cognizant of why it's so important to always think about what we're doing, from the customer experience. So that resulted in lots and lots of meetings when we first started, just so everyone understood the strategy and what the vision was and how that was going to materialize and, what is actionable from their part. And, continuous communications, we just kind of went through all of that. We also wanted to make sure that when we were getting great feedback from customers about our associates, that we did something about that and really recognized that and celebrated that. So we created intranet pages and things that, we'd never had before, so that people could kind of, get that recognition that they deserved and, of course, to try to, have more of that type of behavior. And the most recent thing, actually, we have done that has been, I think, honestly, probably one of the biggest transformational initiatives we have had in our history from a company standpoint is we have really started working. In fact, I just got back from 6 weeks in India and Manila, where we have our call operations, the majority of them, as well as our back office operations. And we did what I kind of call a acculturation training, mainly making sure all of our associates knew what U.S. customers expect, how they can connect with them effectively, and what we need them to start doing and why this is so important. So I was there. It was a great experience. I literally kicked off. We trained 2,500 people in a 6-week time frame, so it was pretty intense, but it was great. And just talking, to each of them and trying to meet them individually and really try to almost personify from an executive standpoint, from a company, executive company standpoint, why this is important, why they need to embrace it, and how much more fun and hopefully more rewarding their jobs would be. So I think that has been, like I said, it just happened. So we're really hoping that we start seeing the fruits of all that labor and investment to do that type of training. We used a third-party vendor who really customized their content specifically for us. So the training was successful, so we hope the results are equally as successful.
I hope so. Were there some key stakeholders or just a network of change agents that you identified throughout the organization? Some people naturally are change agents by nature. Did you create a heat map of those? Who were those individuals in the organization? Did you target out different parts of the organization to hunt down who those change agents were that you could partner up with to achieve what you were trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you always try to gravitate toward your champions, right? So that was honestly very apparent, right, when, I first came on board and started meeting with all the various business units. It was interesting. The people who had not been with the company for a really long period of time, I think, so obviously they had come from the outside and they were a little bit more used to this kind of concept and had come from companies, perhaps who were already looking at this. So they really saw it as a partnership. Honestly, some people who, had been around for a while were a little bit more defensive about, I have 4 different functions within customer experience, and we would come in and, there was a natural, right, kind of tendency to kind of put their hands up like, oh, hey, hang on, what are you doing? I get these complaints. I don't really want to talk about them, So I really, with some groups, had to work on helping them understand that really the customer feedback we get, any complaints we get, I view them as a gift, which, okay, I'm probably a dork, but I do look at them as a gift. I mean, they're telling you and pinpointing specifically what it is you need to focus on differently from a customer standpoint. So absolutely worked with those folks who were champions, who were very eager to have kind of our additional objective perspective, and then our ability to help do any deep dives where we needed to change processes, policies if necessary. Sometimes we even went back to our clients and said, hey, we know this is the policy, but based on what we have heard from our customers, we think we should do things a little bit differently. So we've actually even changed policies from a client perspective. So once I think, just like with anything, you get some momentum going, and then other people who maybe didn't want to embrace this particular type of change at the beginning saw that people were, celebrating some successes, seeing things accomplished differently, and then, everyone kind of got into the fold. Eventually, some of them had to, of course, be pushed a little bit harder than others from an executive standpoint, but for the most part, those were isolated incidents. So,
are there any practices that you put in place to bring people closer to thinking about the customer, especially the people in the back office that have a couple of clicks removed from knowing who that customer is? Was there journey mapping or ride-alongs or anything you did to introduce them to the customer?
We absolutely did. So we're in the mortgage servicing that's what Altisource does, and it's a real estate marketplace. So we actually have an online auction where we sell real estate owned properties as well as some retail properties, but predominantly it's real estate owned, meaning foreclosures, right? So to go through that entire process, it was 5 different business units and 9 different touch points after we did the customer journey mapping. And it was just a frustration point, as you can imagine, right? So it's not an easy transaction to begin with. Then when you have 9 different people that you're trying to interact with and understand, it just, it lends itself to, some frustration on the customer standpoint. So, we really worked from that angle to think about, okay, what can we do differently? And we actually revamped, honestly, and re-engineered the processes. So, and from a regulatory standpoint, we actually had to have 2 different points of contact. We were going for 1 single point of contact, but we had to go to 2. And that made an enormous difference in feedback and satisfaction from our customer base. So.
Well, I know it's quite a journey, and I'm sure you're still on it, and will continue to push it hard. But it's a key part of getting to deliver personalized experiences is connecting that culture to start just thinking about the customer first. Thank you, Jennifer. Right.
We're trying to get it in the DNA, so it's a job every day.
Sarah, shifting to kind of customer service and your role, how has the role and importance of customer service evolved with customer experience for you guys? Have you seen a shift away from customer service just ran as a cost center? Where are you at in your evolution to being a profit center? Is that even something that you're targeting?
Sure. So we've had a slightly different journey here at Shaw than the one that Jennifer explained, and this is a kind of a typical a typical thing when it comes to ingraining customer experience into an organization. Everyone has a slightly different story. So for us, it was about 4 years ago, we actually implemented a separate customer experience department to do to really stand outside of our operations group. So whether that be our contact centers or our field operations or our retail side of the business, to do a lot of the theoretical work around customer experience. And try and build up, sort of the, the journey mapping and the as I mentioned, kind of more strategic perspective of customer experience. And what we found is after about a year and a half of doing that, what we were finding was it was great work, but it wasn't actually being integrated into the customer touch points, which for us in our business, we're a pretty high touch business when we're talking about the services that we provide. So that is such an important element of customer experience is actually in the operations and the touch points. So we sort of reorged a little bit and revamped our perspective and our strategy on how we were approaching customer experience. And instead of sort of having it separate and as a silo, we made the executive decision to really ensure that being customer-centric is actually ingrained in everything we do as a company. So everything from an operations standpoint, right through to even our back-end technologies and how we develop new products and services and things like that too. So what we really shifted to in our journey was to take that idea of the customer being at the table and bring it into almost all of the conversations we have in the organization. So that's been really our shift and how we've been able to operationalize it. So to get back to sort of your core question, the shift away from customer service is just a cost center. We again are a little bit of a different entity in the fact that we maintain all of our customer touchpoint operations internally in-house with our own employees in Canada. So we, just by that very nature of our structure, take on a little bit more cost, so to speak, because we feel like it delivers that community feel of an experience for our customers. So one of the things that we consistently say is that we serve our customers in the communities in which we live, just to bring home that touch point around, we aren't just your service provider, we're your neighbors and the people that you know. And so that's been a key element of who we are. I mean, obviously, we're not literally in every single community that we serve, but we can speak to the community type of feel and the approach that we've taken with our customer service operations. So in many ways, that value equation is already just built into the way in which we're structured. The other main component, though, really is around shifting the focus, as you mentioned, from what I would call a cost center, more transactional approach, to being a lot more proactive, a lot more personalized. Some of the things that you brought up in your presentation as well, JP, just around ensuring that when we approach a customer interaction, we're really looking at it as a means to deepen the relationship, expand the experience for our customers, offer them, what we call our best value, best experience, which is really ensuring that we are asking the right questions to assess the needs of our customers in their household before offering a solution or moving towards closing out the conversation, the interaction. So, those are a few of the key points I would say that have been, I would say, integral to the journey that we're on. And that's the thing. We definitely have undertaken what you would call sort of transformative initiatives and things like that over the last, I would say, as I mentioned, 3-4 years since we've been here. And but essentially, it's really that you're always on this roadmap, right? You're always looking at, what our customers, trying to be ahead of what our customers are asking us for, trying to be ahead of what their needs are so that we are able to have that competitive advantage as well. We operate in a highly, highly competitive environment here in Western Canada. and we want to make sure that that our service is and our customer experience is what can set us apart from our key competitors.
Fantastic. So it sounds like while customer service and the focus on the loyalty of your customers has always been a key part of your culture, customer experience is really giving you a stronger platform on which to leverage your strategic importance back to the business.
Yeah, and it's really been ingraining it through very specific initiatives and programs as well. Like, as I mentioned, you touched on it as well, saying, it's been part of our culture for a very long time, and it's taking it from kind of being that, undefined, undocumented thing that we talk about, and actually making sure that we can deliver it consistently at a level that's continuing to evolve, that, that's just sort of taking it and bringing it forward a bit more so that it touches all parts of our organization.
Right, we call this enhancing the art of this science so that it becomes repeatable and maintainable and sustainable as you grow as a business. And a lot of businesses started off with this very heavy focus on being a customer-centric organization, and somehow along the way it got marginalized into being a cost center run as efficiency with low budget investments. But it sounds like you managed to not go off that cliff and leverage CX to ensure as your business grows, you're able to sustain that customer focus.
For sure, absolutely.
So Jennifer, with so much focus on marketing for personalized experiences, and just to give you a stat, we find about 80 to 90% of customer experience budget is going towards where customer experience evolved from, which was a marketing initiative, kind of like brand experience, focused primarily on the buying cycle, not the owning cycle. And even today, we find an overemphasis on over-promising and under-delivering. So how are you ensuring your business is able to deliver against what is promised? And you touched on this a little bit, but maybe you can expand on that. How has the investments in delivery of the promise become more of the focus and a little less of the focus around the promise of the experience?
Right. So, I kind of go back to when you were speaking about just kind of, simplicity, right? So, I think as perhaps many of you on the phone, we suffered, pardon me, we suffered as well from, kind of having 9 different systems that our associates had to go into to just answer questions, that a customer might have, right? So again, that is not ideal. That creates inefficiencies. And I think more importantly, it takes away confidence in customers, right, from the associate's knowledge base. So I would have to say we are definitely in process right now, but we are going to new technologies, and we've identified those various technologies and the sources and customizing those, but really making sure that we have an integrated solution for calls that come in or chats or any emails where it's connecting all of those so that we know how many times a customer has had to reach out to us and about what is the content of their question or issue or source of frustration, whatever the case may be. And so we know that already so that we can try to help them and, and again, act like, since we kind of have more of this CRM. So that has been introduced, and we're still trying to really kind of simplify all of our various systems that that our folks have to go into to try to answer questions. So I think that's a big part of that. So when I think of, kind of process and technology, I think that is a big piece of what we're doing. Another thing that we heard from all the data analysis we did from survey verbatims and, complaints that came through our escalation management platform that we instituted enterprise-wide, was just about, I think what everyone knows about. You talked about this as well. People want, it's kind of all about self-service, just in time. I want to be able to interact with you when it makes sense for me, not necessarily when it makes sense for you. So, as I mentioned kind of before, we have, we sell homes on an auction basis, and it is a complicated transaction. So what we did, we actually have built a self-service portal so that folks who have, won a bid on a home and all the various things that, I would imagine most of us have gone through having, purchasing a home and what that home mortgage process and closing and the documents and everything you need. So we built a self-service portal so our customers could go in at any point in time, see where they are throughout the entire life cycle of that transaction, so that, we can also put out there if there are any alerts on perhaps they need to change something, we need something additional. That has been, we're actually just in beta with that right now, and we should be going full force live, hopefully in December, but if not, by January for sure. But that has been successful so far. And I mentioned
leveraging the power of digital channels and the connectivity of the data to give a better view of the upstream and downstream of the experience, and then optimizing each of the different areas depending on where the issues are or the successes are of the experience. Is that really how you see the power of digital, that you're connecting this experience across all of the touch points?
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing, and where we have seen the most improvement from a measurement standpoint, when we survey our customers, we ask 3 questions of every survey: Net Promoter, overall satisfaction, and customer effort scores. In other words, how easy is it, obviously, to do business with us? And we have seen kind of with these new technologies that we are making it easier to do business with us. And, of course, that lends itself to overall satisfaction. And while there's not exact direct correlations between those and Net Promoter Score, we're definitely seeing those influencing those scores as well. But that's been where we've seen kind of the biggest uptick in our survey results and satisfaction results for our customers. So that's been a very positive thing, And I think the other thing is, especially with the training with our associates, is just making that one-on-one connection with the customer, and don't think of the customer as just a transaction that you do time and time again every day, but that you have the ability to turn that person, into a proponent of our business, and, to have that loyalty factor and become a promoter of our kind of entire family of businesses, because we have a lot of them. And that's, again, a paradigm shift that we have to continue, just like kind of when we started this whole journey, right? We just have to continue to, keep that at the forefront, I think, an awareness factor on a daily basis of how important each of our associates really is to the satisfaction. And, we're putting all these tools in place to make that or to make that easier for them to make our customers happy, and that they have the power to influence that every day. So I hope that answers your question.
The Net Promoter Score seems to be the way to measure the experience, and that's a Net Promoter Score that's taken at every key interaction point throughout the life cycle of the customer, and that becomes that reflection of how personalized was that experience throughout the journey, not just in one particular transaction, but that is materializing as the key metric of success for customer experience.
Right. And in fact, one thing that we're doing just to make sure every single person in our company recognizes that, it is on every single person from associate to our executive level. It's going to be part of their 2017 goals, and each of them will be measured on the percentage improvement. So that is unprecedented in our history. So that is just the level of seriousness, that we're taking, kind of in the C-suite. So it's been good. So it'll be interesting to see how that, unfolds next year.
I do encourage you all to ask questions that we'll get to at the end as we go through. I'm not seeing a lot of activity on the chat so far, but maybe I can't see it. But if you haven't asked questions and do have questions, just a brief reminder to ask the questions. We'll try and leave enough time. So talking about measurements, and we focus a lot on the customer's experience, but Sarah, how important is the agent experience when trying to deliver personalized experience to the customers? Are you even starting to measure ASAT, agent satisfaction rate? Employee experience is becoming kind of the next new focus within customer experience.
No, it's a great question. And really, what we actually do is we measure an employee engagement score. We do that using an external partner, Aon Hewitt, completely anonymous surveys. We have about over 90% participation, both from a company standpoint as well, actually in our group as well. So we get a fairly high response rate, which is great, and we look at all components of the agent experience. And it is becoming more and more of a focus. I think some companies have been really ahead of the curve on this one. I worked at Virgin Mobile for a number of years, and in every single Virgin company, people first is the operating principle that we think about. And by people first, it's your employees and specifically your front line in working and directly interacting with your customers. So I think that absolutely, I think that you really, in many ways, you can't have high customer satisfaction if you don't have an engaged and satisfied frontline agent workforce. So many different opportunities. As I mentioned, we've got more of the survey here too, which is a more formal approach, but I think as well, and equally important, are the informal activities that you do. So the amount of roundtables, focusing on rewards and recognition has been a big area for us as well. Really looking at some of the new technology platforms as well to support that, especially as you're looking at generational shifts. So, as we compare even where we were in 2014 to say 2016, our percentage of millennials has increased at our frontline level by another 40%. So you're seeing a huge increase, especially the younger millennial segment as well. So not so much the 30 to 35-year-olds, but more the younger part of that generation. And there are different expectations and different needs to be met in the workplace as well. So looking at things like even non-monetary recognition is a focus for us. So as I mentioned, we have a platform that we've just launched with a partner, BI Worldwide, and that's really focusing on things like peer-to-peer as well as leader to frontline recognition, everything from hearing a great call to getting feedback directly from a customer to seeing someone help someone else in the workplace and being able to put that recognition in a centralized place that everyone can see and actually earn things like badges and things like that too. So a lot of the non-monetary recognition is what we're looking to drive agent satisfaction as well. We haven't quite nailed down, the measure of success here other than the engagement surveys and looking for other indicators such as our, employee attrition, exit interviews, as I mentioned, regular roundtables and coaching sessions with our first line leaders. But definitely it's an area of focus.
Yeah, and I know technologies are out there to deliver truly personalized experiences for agents based on their abilities, skill sets, and kind of nurturing their development. I wonder even if there's an opportunity as we go, and I haven't heard of anybody so far, but actually using NPS in the world of employee or agent experience versus satisfaction.
Yeah. I mean, there's the Glassdoor kind of ratings out there. I mean, that's a somewhat unscientific way of looking at it, I guess, at Glassdoor.com. But yeah, I agree. Potentially, there could be something in the future that looks at that in the same sort of way. Your detractors versus your promoters from your employee standpoint. You're engaged versus you're disengaged.
Right. It's definitely been very successful in the world of Virgin and continues to push focus within the world of customer experience overall. Moving forward to the question 5, Jennifer, how are you connecting all these disconnected channels and silos as you embrace the digital transformation to truly deliver personalized engagements? And it's a very broad question. So what are the key systems that you saw to integrate all the key channels or data that you've connected to be able to deliver a personalized experience?
Right. Well, I think, I spoke a little bit about what we have from a customer standpoint. I think the other thing that we have done that has really created, I don't know if a unified vision or unified behavior as it relates to customer feedback, I think the system that we built that we actually customized for each of those 24 different business units, that I mentioned to you, as well as, so we have workflows for each one of those, and we have, we took a very MECE approach to it, making sure everything was, mutually exclusive, and it was very comprehensive as it related to each of our business units, and just making sure that at every touch point throughout all of those business units, including our compliance department and including our law department, that we have this one system where we have a centralized repository, and that is where we do all of our data analytics, and it's kind of the touch point where we can see and really look, we measure our service level targets as far as complaint resolution goes. What are all the root causes? We look at any type of, risk that might be happening from what we're hearing. So that has really, I think, been a big connector internally so that we really understand what is happening and where we need to focus and, what's most important, what are we hearing from our customers. So I think that that has really helped us transformationally from an internal standpoint. And then I think the other things where we're trying to connect the various pieces of a chat or an email and the IVR, when someone's calling in, we are also trying, and we have piloted with one business unit now, we're doing customer satisfaction surveys, 1 to 2 minute survey after a service call. And we hope to be able to scale that quickly across all of our business units to understand what our customers, and how they feel about it, because, you have the kind of the recency effect of just having that. And usually people who are unhappy, just human nature, are more likely to respond to a survey. So we're hoping that will give us perhaps, a more balanced approach and a balanced feedback. So I think hopefully that will help with, a personalized experience. And, some of the other things we're also looking at are across all of these business units. And this is, I'm kind of working with our head of technology and IT for a system. And I'll be honest with you, we don't have it yet. We're just trying to determine what are all the different pieces and how would we interconnect them from all the different, functions that we have today. And how do we
what I had was the key elements is the connecting the voice of the customer, which is the key part. When we think about connecting systems, it's very easy to go to back-end systems, but you actually touched on an important factor, which is just connecting all the voice of the customer system, so you have a unified kind of view of the voice of the customer, as well as connecting those key channels of engagement, and then the back-end data. Right.
It's been eye-opening.
It's a lot of work, right? There's a lot of systems, a lot of information to get.
Yes, that's for sure, yes.
So, Sarah, the last question before we open up for QA, what are some of the key experience technology investments that you guys have made to deliver a personalized engagement?
So we've done a few things, and we've actually worked closely with Oracle, who's sponsoring this forum. But and the road to modern, I think, is a great example of a fantastic crawl, walk, run type of roadmap to really future-proof our operations. So a few of the things we've enhanced our chat platform, our online chat platform, as well as our email, and really linked it in with our knowledge management systems internally too, so that ultimately our agents in all of our channels are able to have access to the type of information that's going to help them in their interactions with our customers more consistently. So I think that's been a big part of it too, and just in overhauling all of our knowledge management systems for our agents has helped tremendously there as well. More and more, what we're finding is that the concept and the value of being easy to do business with is enabled through technology enhancements as well. So everything from our digital experience online to our retail experience and how we offer different options for customers for installation, for instance, is even leveraging newer technologies that we've implemented in the last year or so as well. So it's really about ensuring that we can have these options for customers and using partners and platforms, especially when it comes to cloud applications. So as we're expanding further into our social care standpoint as well through social media, being able to have a lot more access to information about who you're speaking to, who we're interacting with on social media platforms from a customer standpoint, and their level of engagement in social media and how we respond to that and the potential opportunity or opportunity for success or opportunity for failure is measured differently in social. So leveraging different partnerships and platforms, and specifically cloud-based applications, is allowing us to get access to those types of touch points, but also do it in a way that's easy to stand up as well from a technology standpoint. We find with by using cloud-based vendors, we're able to get from idea to operational and in a much shorter period of time.
Yeah, I think you touched on a very important part of the process in the beginning of that answer. It's not just the technology, but the order in which you invest that technology, making sure you've got the foundational elements in place and making sure you don't kind of get ahead of what you're ready to consume from a cultural and process and measurement standpoint. With technology, we can get very excited about new technology. And that's really the power of the RTM Roadmap to Modern strategic framework. It provides you that guidance of what to invest in next, how to measure it, and then how to optimize your processes to support it, and ensures you're not tripping over yourself. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much, guys, and open it up to audience questions and answers. And I believe Jessica from Argyle is on the call, and she can ask those questions. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thanks so much. That was a great discussion, everyone. And thanks to the audience for submitting a few questions. I think we do have room for just a couple more if anyone wants to submit any, but we'll just get started with one of the first ones that came in a little bit earlier. So someone had a question: what data analytics processes and tools in terms of, categories of solutions you're using to manage unstructured customer feedback? So I'm sure all three of you actually have some insights to share on this, but Jennifer, Sarah, JP, anyone want to take the lead on sharing any insights on this question?
We can kick it off, I guess. It's Sarah. One of the areas that we are starting to use and looking at expanding usage is with Google Analytics. So using a lot of the search functionality as well as the online analytics around, what our customers are looking for, both when they're looking for our services as well as our competitor services as well. So we're finding that to be very useful information. More than 50% of the traffic that gets driven to our own website happens through Google search. So we're finding just a ton of valuable insights in how customers are coming to us, whether it's for becoming new customers or from an acquisition standpoint, or for our existing base as well, in using some of our resources such as our Shaw.ca community support, My Account, things like that as well. So just as we want more of our customers to access those properties, we're looking at ways in which our customers are finding us.
I think it's important too, when you think about analytics, is to connect in the silos, and Jessica was kind of talking about this as, when we think about connecting technologies, connecting silos, one of the most important things to do is connect marketing with service to understand what's happening upstream. Often marketing is using a lot of analytics to understand behaviors, but that's not coming through to support. And in and in reverse, marketing's not looking at that support transaction information that's coming back from their service experience and connecting just the data on those, not necessarily needing to get more data, just to get better and tighter about connecting that data of the experience that's happening upstream and downstream is a key element of the analytics.
And this is Jennifer. I would just say one thing that we are actually still evaluating various technologies out there, but we are going to be investing in a technology that really kind of combines all of voice and text analytics that come in. So from all of the recorded calls that we have, and they kind of you can customize it to whatever kind of trigger words you want to have that have email capabilities to kind of build in the your directory and have it hierarchically structured for each business unit. One thing that I think we want to really have, and that's kind of what we're just kind of doing small little pilots with a few of these companies. And the other piece is to have kind of your entire quality assurance call recording processes embedded within this so that, again, it's just connecting all of those dots internally so you can get feedback from surveys, from the IVR process when we, get that rolled out to full scale, your quality assurance on the calls, and then also if any calls are going into distress from the call centers or the back office operations, that will trigger, to the appropriate people too. So that is another thing we're looking at. And again, a way to look at all of that unstructured feedback in a way that's actually much more efficient. And we can do it from a technology solution as opposed to having, tons of people doing that manually.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Jennifer. And we also did have another question. I think it layers in nicely with some of the topics you guys were already discussing a little bit earlier, but how have you influenced the top-level leadership in your company to put customer experience ahead of, or at least on par with, revenue and profitability? So again, maybe we could start with Sarah. Is this something you're comfortable speaking to at your company?
Sure. It's on par is always a difficult one to achieve when we're talking about revenue and profitability. I think that one of the things that we have implemented is in our throughout our entire company, including our executive level, is looking at the measures of success in our compensation program, so especially when it comes to our bonuses. So we've obviously got some key financial targets there. We also have a target that's set for our company-wide NPS equivalent, which is likelihood to recommend. So when we talk about everyone being able to influence the results of the surveys that our customers fill out, we really enmesh that, because it's, as I mentioned, part of even the compensation program here as well. So it shows up definitely in our annual process as we're putting our goals and our strategies on paper as a team, and how we make sure that while we're delivering effectively to our quote unquote business measures, that we have the customers in mind, and that the measurement for that is very clear.
Yeah, if you ask any C-suite exec, how much cheaper is it to grow and retain your customers versus getting a new one, they'll tell you about 8 to 10x cheaper to retain and grow from existing customers than go get a new one. And that, of course, leads into profitability. And one of the other key success metrics for all the customer experience leaders out there is the reduction in acquisition costs, which is aiding profitability. And customer experience is really about that, right? Sustainable growth and profit comes from lowered acquisition costs, not increasing acquisition costs, which is going to hurt your profitability for your business. So all of the leaders are understanding that and applying that, and really growing from that investment in customer experience. Customer experience is about that growth for the business, but at a lower cost to the business. But that cost is not the operational cost, it's the traditional model. It's actually the acquisition costs that you're looking to reduce. different way of thinking. But that is customer experience. It requires that cultural shift in spend, in funding, and in measurement.
Great, thanks, JP. And before we move on, Jennifer, was there anything you wanted to chime in with on this question as well?
Yeah, so a little different angle perhaps is one of the things that we created, and you know, one of the functions within customer experience at Altisource, we created an ombudsman office. And we have, you know, one of the things I told you, we have the, you know, escalation management platform, right, where we enter in every, you know, interaction when we have, you know, a displeased customer. So the Ombudsman Office is no different. And we have actually been able to show monetary value and the amount of, I call it a revenue save, especially on homes that we had people who were upset for one reason or another, and our Ombudsman Office actually was able to close the sale. In addition to that, we have, you know, sometimes just by nature of what we do, we have a lot of property preservation and inspection, and, you know, people will come and make claims that, you know, a vendor has done X, Y, and Z. And we had, of course, you know, a figure for what we had paid for those in the past. And then once we had the Ombudsman Office in place, we reduced that literally by almost 85%. So we have been able to show actually a few $1 million bottom line, you know, revenue impact and expense savings. So that has been something that I think made people kind of, you know, sit up and take notice as well.
Wow, definitely. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. We had another question just come in. Have any of you incorporated processes into your new hire vetting to identify customer-centric characteristics in new employees? And it would be great to hear, you know, both from the panelists as well as JP on this as you kind of build out your teams at all of your respective companies. Jennifer, Sarah, and either of you comfortable kind of speaking to some of the things you're doing in your hiring practices right now?
Yeah, I can just kind of, we really have taken all of the, you know, like I told you about the acculturation training I had mentioned earlier. What we're doing is actually now for all of our new hire associates, you know, definitely from the call center and from the back office operations, we're having them listen to 3 different recorded calls. Of course, we've, you know, erased out the names for anonymity and things, but we're asking the people that we're you know, looking to hire if they think those were good calls, and we kind of have it separated by 7 different parameters and asking them why. So as opposed to just having a questionnaire, you know, we're making it real. So listen to these calls. How do you think that went? You know, how would you, you know, just, and making a simple scoring, but we're actually trying to, you know, see the natural propensity of people's customer service skills when they come in by listening to these calls. So it's been interesting, the reaction our HR folks have shared with us. So.
For us, one of the things that we've implemented through our recruitment and just and how we screen for customer service employees is we've really shifted from some of the attributes that we value and that we're looking for through the interview process from the more kind of standard idea of customer service people, from being just friendly, agreeable, easy to talk to actually looking for qualities such as being more creative, being able to drive a conversation, and being able to have the attribute to solve problems and be a bit more forthright, because what we're finding is that, you know, our customer conversations, you know, the expectations are really a little bit higher on our reps. So it's not just about, you know, being friendly, which is also a quality we look for, but being able to actually solve the problem and solve the issue, or make a really strong recommendation when it comes to our products and services. Customers have so much choice so much more choice than ever before, and in what they choose to subscribe to when it comes to internet, television, and phone services. That we really expect our reps to be more of the trusted advisor type of representative, rather than passive and only really kind of just waiting for the customer to tell them what to do.
Great. And JP, anything you want to add to this topic as well?
Yeah, there's a number of people who are looking at non-traditional agents. I mean, you take an agent who's built their career on the phone and they're very skilled at having phone conversations, but I encourage everyone to kind of look at the skills that's required for the channels, not just look at the technology, and then start hiring around those. It's very different to have a text message service experience to a chat service experience to a co-browse, and the skill sets that's required around there aren't in abundance in most of your call centers. So people are actually hiring outside of call center experience and people who have had more experience in just engaging with customers on those channels and just engaging with customers in a more customer-centric perspective, and they're coming from generations who are more familiar with those channels. So I've seen a number of changes in the way people are looking at how they're hiring and how they're training their agents, identifying which ones have the skills to be able to truly traverse the different channels, and then making sure if there is a disconnect between the agents, a transition between the agents, that they've invested in the technologies, that it feels like it's the same experience. So that phone agent may still only do phone, and they may be handed off by a chat agent, but that is pretty much seamless to the customer in that experience they're getting back, which is key. So I really encourage people to look beyond just the technology into the practices and skills that can support that and give that experience that you're trying to get to for the customer.
Great. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of our session today. I want to take a moment to really thank JP for the fantastic presentation, for moderating. I also want to thank Jennifer and Sarah for their fantastic insights. And thanks as well to the attendees for submitting your great questions. That was a great way to close our event today. So thanks again for joining us and taking some time out of your day. As I mentioned earlier, we will be sending a feedback survey just to get your feedback on today's event. We'd appreciate that you fill it out. You'll also receive a follow-up email with the recording for playback within 48 hours so that you can access the conversation if you want to play parts that you may have missed. So thanks again to everyone. Enjoy your day, and we hope to see you at an Argyle event soon.